And welcome on back, everyone, to episode 143 of Streaming with the Mouse. Today, we're going to be talking about the premiere of Star Wars: The Bad Batch. So it'll be the first two episodes. We'll do more combined after this, but get ready, and you're listening to Streaming with the Mouse. And welcome on back, everyone, to episode 143 of Streaming with the Mouse. My name is Clifton Paul Robinson, and today I am joined by my co-host, my co-pilot. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be Omega? Omega.
I'll be Omega.
I'll say to my Echo at the moment, because they seem to have the best bond, honestly, for the show. Megan, how are you doing?
I'm good. I want to make a comment because Cliff was like, in the last episode, you were just very much like, yeah, I'm excited. I'm all vibes, baby. I'm just going with the flow. I'm not thinking too hard about things right now. We are in prep for the semester, so I'm just trying to enjoy my entertainment and not think too hard about it. So I might just be all vibes a little bit, but sorry.
So
but not
we'll
really.
be talking about the first two episodes of Star Wars: The Bad Batch Season 2, which were aptly named Spoils of War and Ruins of War. And it actually provided a lot of substance for this, which I feel like Season 1 dramatically lacked. I can talk about why. We'll see how Miss Vibes does with it. But again, as always, top 5.
I'm watching my every episode. I'm sorry.
It's your cat. You need to lock him in the cage for a half hour.
He doesn't have a cage, but he keeps trying to open the lazy Susan and going in it.
Yeah. But as always, top 5. I have no honorable mentions. I think it's hard with Bad Batch to find honorable mentions. Maybe going forward we will. But as always, Megan, take it away.
I have, as per usual, except for the last episode, several honorable mentions.
Oh, you have honorable mentions.
I do. I am so sorry. Sirius is now under the sink eating something. So
then I will start with my number 5, and it's the introduction of the Clone Wars within the Bad Batch universe, because we are dealing with a time that is right between and right after the Clone Wars. We are still fairly recently, Order 66 has occurred, and you see how the clones are used and moved, but more specifically, the aftermath of what happens to the Confederacy, as we see with being on Serrano, which is Count Dooku's home. It's where he took over and led the Confederacy, and seeing kind of like, okay, the Empire, before they go for the Republic, which they do, start with the Confederacy to kind of build up their war chest, build up money and all this power. And it's just so interesting to see how the clones are used and what happens right after, basically.
Yeah, mine is in a very similar vein. I love seeing Serrano. It's the first time we've seen it since Dooku Jedi Lost. I know, Cliff, you haven't finished that yet.
I partially read it. I read some of it.
But it is, I'm a big fan of audio dramas, so I really enjoyed it. And I think, like, being able to see the aftermath almost of, like, what happened with Dooku's range. It's also fascinating to me how everyone sees Dooku. They're like, he was, like, the bad guy. He was the problem, when really behind all of it all along was Palpatine. And so it's funny to me, like, and to us as the watchers who know, like, what actually happened. It's interesting seeing everything happen, and I just love seeing it. And like, I thought it was a really cool location to pick.
Dooku didn't have to, turn his homeworld into a dictatorship.
Listen,
you just completely like cut out. You're not excusing him, but yes.
I'm not excusing him, but he wasn't alone. They act like he like the Palpatine is freaking running the Empire.
But he was running Serrano. He decided to do all that stuff. I have read what happens in Dooku Jedi Lost. So
that is true.
But Yes. You're number 4 though with it.
My
Unless
number
Sirius wants to
4.
interrupt you again.
Yeah, I don't. He's sitting right next to me now. My number 4. Well, that was both of those. My number 4 was the ending of the kind of thing. I literally wrote, "LOL, bureaucratic BS keeping them safe. R.I.P. Wilk," because like they don't want Tarkin to know that the Bad Batch is still alive. So that person was just like, "Okay, we're just gonna pretend they're not," which is gonna help the Bad Batch, long term. But it's like bureaucratic BS is what is helping the Bad Batch right now. So it's just funny.
Yes, and that is actually my number 4 as well, talking about how the Empire eats itself. And we saw it in Andor very well. And it's nice to actually compare them side by side, and it shows you how much better in the Empire having humans are than the clones, because the clones are loyal to the bitter end, unfortunately for them, because they wouldn't have wanted to kill the Jedi if it wasn't for the chip. But they don't falsify reports, they don't change things, they are cut and dried by the book, which is not what the Empire wants to be. And that is why Rampart kills that commander, because he won't falsify the report for him, because Rampart wants to handle it by himself, because it makes him look bad if someone else does something the right way. So then there's all these scheming and everything. Um, and we know that this is going to end with Crosshair being sent to try to find these guys, maybe even Cody, but we'll see where it goes. But yeah, it's hilarious because the Empire, it's not its own worst enemy, um, but it's so interesting how, above all, they are the ones, they're only looking out for themselves in this situation. What is making you laugh?
I made a joke in my head, but
Oh
it's
boy.
really funny. It's really political, so I can't make it on this
Uh,
podcast.
yeah, you can't make a joke about the Speaker of the House election. I mean, you can, but we try to avoid that.
I did
it,
after, but I made it in my head.
it's fine.
And
It's fine. We're all laughing at you. It's okay.
yeah, yeah.
3. You're 3.
Well, actually, one of my honorable mentions, was trauma from Andor was what I wrote. Because I out loud gasped when um Tech got hurt, when he got his legs crushed. I went, "Oh no!"
Oh no. Oh
Like,
no.
yeah, he's good. But trauma from Andor. That is my
That's an honorable
apparently
mention.
thing that I wrote.
There we go.
Yeah. What are we on 3?
3.
I really okay. I really loved the music in this episode very specifically. I think the like the composition and everything was just really beautifully done and really like followed the scenes. I mean Star Wars is great with its music. I think Star Wars is one of the best, especially in their TV shows, with their use of music and like scoring specifically. Um because it's never like a song, it's always an original uh thing or a Star Wars thing. So I just always enjoy it and it really stuck out to me this episode.
I can always talk about the score. I actually should have paid more attention to the score. Maybe I'll go back and listen to it. Um, but my number 3 is finally the integration of Echo into the Bad Batch. I was
Yep.
so upset in season 1 how underutilized he was, because he left everything to be with people that were more like him. And then it's like, oh, he's the comedy, he's this. He still had some comedy, like falling in the water, stuff like that. But the Bad Batch really only gets themselves, where Echo understands Omega. He understands the greater aspect, and like he knew who Count Dooku was. He was very adamantly against anything with Count Dooku, and it's just so interesting. It's nice to see they listened in this respect to making him a better character the way he should be.
I That's my number 2.
Look at that.
Echo has when I watched Clone Wars was one of my favorites. One of my favorite clones. I was so excited that he joined the Bad Batch, and I think last season I was a little let down with how much they didn't utilize him. But I really love his relationship with Omega that was shown in this episode. How he's kind of like when he told Hunter, he was like, "We should be doing more." Um, and like Hunter was like, "No, we just need to stay under the radar." And Echo was like, "We can't, like we can't because we have Omega, and therefore we should be doing more." And Omega took that a different way, and the way Echo worked with her to kind of work through that. I just think that was very sweet, and I love Echo. Echo is such a pure being, and I love him.
And I think my number two, because I'll just go into it, is the compare and contrast of the first two episodes, and I think it comes in the name alone, where we start with the spoils of war and we end with the ruins of war, where um, it's there's no real spoils of war in it. The people that are fighting are not the ones, or the people that are affected in the end are not the ones that see anything. They only see the ruins, and we saw it through the character of Romar, where he was normal. He knew who clones were. He didn't care. He hated Count Dooku as much as everyone. He probably hated them more than how the Republic hated him, because he took over their home. He destroyed their lives. He built war chests by exploiting his people. And it was just so interesting because we're in a very depressing time in the Star Wars universe. This is probably one of the most depressing times in canon. It is actually in canon. It is, and it's just terrible. And we get to see it firsthand, and it's so interesting seeing the Bad Batch handle separatists, because they're trained to do these things, and now it's like, but there's no one on our side anymore, but this person who we were fighting a war against is helping us. And it's so interesting seeing it where Echo and Omega understand it, where it's really like the Bad Batch still has to relearn humanity, because they never knew it. They were just a specialized clone force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
You want
I
to do your
think
other
that really.
two honorable
Uh,
mentions?
I'll do. I think I only have one left.
Okay.
Because I tied in like my honorable mentions to my Echo comment. I just Omega, just like her hair's a little longer. Like what a cute kid. But that was I literally wrote Omega all grown up in like the like cute face. But I think what you just said ties really into my top one though, but on the contrasting side of it. Because like yes, they're relearning their humanity, but they still have their blasters only on stun.
Hmm.
And they are getting shot at by clones. And they still have their blasters only on stun. And I think that, that really just shows that like they understand that like the clones aren't at fault here. That those are their like I don't think they see them as brothers, but like that's they know that they didn't have a choice in what they did, and therefore they won't unjustifiably hurt them if they can avoid it. Even then when they're getting shot at, and I think that's just a really beautiful thing from last season to this season. The fact that they were very consistent this whole episode with keeping it on stun when dealing with clones.
And I mean, and I believe, doesn't Rex tell them in season one that it's the chips?
Yeah, they find out season one.
Yeah.
They
So
know.
they know this, and that's why they know. Like you said, they're not at fault. Like it's someone else, which is just terrible.
Yeah.
But I think my number one, and it's a cop out, but them as a whole, like
Yeah, that's such
it's
a
the
freaking cop
change, but
out.
the change in it where they don't, where Omega's still learning to understand how they talk, where Omega spends the whole episode thinking, I'm the reason they might get killed. They're trying to provide for me. They are doing these things for me. And that's why she tries so hard for the war chest. That's why she does all these things, because she doesn't, they are a family, but she still doesn't understand them. And they don't understand her still. I think Echo does. I think Echo understands her. But it's, they're still learning, is just so interesting and fun to watch in real time, because they they don't know what they're doing, but they know that they're protecting Omega, they're protecting each other. And we know soon we're going to get a Jedi, and that's going to put an even bigger target on their head. Where's the Inquisitor project at this point? Who are the Inquisitors? We know that the Grand Inquisitor is there. Who are the sisters and brothers at this point? We don't know. So what kind of target is being a good person going to put on their backs, and more specifically danger them all for, probably, and let's be honest, Omega wanting to help the Jedi? Like, her and Echo are going to be the ones that are going to want to help the Jedi, where the rest of the Bad Batch are not going to want to do it because it makes them nervous. Go ahead.
Did Echo? Sorry, in my head, I'm like, if you're watching on YouTube, you see me like literally trying to draw lines. Could Echo ever meet such Jedi we think we might be seeing?
Probably not. I don't. You can say it. It's in the trailer. I can't remember the name. It was the Wookiee.
Yeah, I almost said like the
It's not Briaga. That's the High Republic. I was thinking the same thing, but yes, the Wookiee Jedi. I don't think so, but I just know Echo would want to help a Jedi. That's just how Echo is. That's how Omega is. But it's going to be interesting seeing how they work together, with even more on the line. Will we see an Inquisitor? I don't know, but you're number one.
I said my number one, bud.
Oh, I thought you said that was your honorable mention.
No, that was my number one.
Oh, there we go. Well, then that's it. We did it.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to see this season specifically? I know, like, we know we're seeing Cody.
I'm not ready for that.
Go ahead. Give your. What do you want to see? I have a depressing one.
You know what I don't want to see? I don't want to see Cody die, but you know what I'm probably going to have to freaking watch? Cody die. I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want it, but I'm hoping we get Cody dying to save Rex.
Stop!
Yes, that is how I believe this season is going to end, with Cody dying. He is able to fight the chip one last time to save Rex from getting killed by Crosshair. That is my guess. But that will do it for this week's episode of Streaming with the Mouse, the first 2 episodes of Bad Batch. Megan, where can they find you and the podcast?
They can find me on Twitter for as long as that's around.
Let's see if you remember your name.
Megan2298. And they can find me on Instagram at _Megan_Brown96. Again, I am at private on Instagram, so just ask to follow me. I'll probably say yes. And then you can find the podcast on Twitter at Stream the Mouse, and you can find us on Instagram at Streaming with the Mouse.
And you can find me at.
Website.
No, it's down for now. It's down for now. You can find me at CPRobinson81. So for Megan Brown, my name is Clifton Robinson. We will probably see you next week. We have to decide what we're doing. So we will potentially see you next week for another episode. Bye, everyone. May the Force be with you.